Aztecs football team looks to stay undefeated in the Mountain West Conference in front of what's hoping to be a big homecoming crowd at Snapdragon Stadium. Hello and welcome to Aztecs All In, the podcast that goes all in on San Diego State sports. I'm Louis Weiner, along with Steve Perez. And Steve, the Aztecs football team, they're going to try to keep it rolling, and hopefully they can do that. What are you thinking?
Well, Aztecs, Cowboys making that trip from Laramie, Wyoming. Saturday night lights in San Diego. Well, maybe in the second half with this 4 p.m. kickoff. That's to accommodate the network TV on CBS Sports Network.
Yeah, I like the 4 o'clock kickoff. We've been so used to these 7:30 kickoffs that it's kind of nice to get an earlier start. Well, it's still nice outside, hopefully not that hot. But this San Diego State team, this defense is just playing extremely well. And Wyoming, I think they're going to have a hard time scoring. And I think as long as the Aztecs don't turn the ball over and continue to play consistently and Jaden Denigal efficiently, I think the Aztecs have a very good chance of coming out with a W on this one.
Well, that's what the odd makers say, and in my mind, the next 2 games will be the true measure of how close this version of Aztecs football is to the best version of itself. This is a homecoming game, right? Aztecs favored, as we've said, by at least 10 points. That's over an opponent that has played 500 ball to date. And they have a long plane ride next week before taking on the Rainbow Warriors in Honolulu, Hawaii. Now, that's a team with a season-opening win over Stanford. They're right behind the Aztecs in the Mountain West Conference standing. They are 6-2 overall, one of 4 bowl-eligible teams in the Mountain West. They're always a tough out on their home lava. So we will do the old cliche now and take them one at a time, of course. But first, note the above. We'll learn a lot over the next 2 games, I believe, Louis.
Yeah, especially with that Hawaii game, Steve. The Aztecs, some teams might be looking ahead, right, to the Boise State game the following week. So to stay focused on Hawaii, if they beat Wyoming, that might be hard to do. But Sean Lewis does a pretty good job of keeping things focused on what's immediately ahead and not looking too far ahead. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and by the time this episode hits the interwebs, the battle for the old oil can, it's well in the rearview mirror by now. But a big old shout out to you, Louis, for some material we have coming on later in the podcast, Aztecs All In, for making that big sacrifice. I know it's tough to do, but getting to Las Vegas last week for the Mountain West Basketball Media Days, that was big for the Aztecs All In podcast. So again, kudos to you for that, and looking forward to hearing more from the coaches on the men's side.
Yeah, okay. We'll get to that shortly. And but starting off, you've got a lot of football for us. What you got?
That's right. There's a big football game to be played. Aztecs in the middle of a heater, Louis. This football season, it's year 2 under Coach Sean Lewis. Another big Mountain West game at home. They are undefeated here, 6-1 overall, and as we say, the midst of a 5-game winning streak. Louis, the challenge for the Aztecs against this Wyoming team is to build on last Saturday's defensive masterclass. 23-0 on the road in Fresno it was. Talk about a statement shutout. Heading into homecoming, Coach Lou and crew, though, not just winning, but working on building more memories. Many of them on the defensive side, Louis. In their 3rd shutout of the season, the Aztecs held Fresno scoreless. They snagged 2 interceptions. Tano Latuli adding to the Aztecs' total of interceptions returned for touchdowns now, 3 on the season. They are also number 1 in the Mountain West in scoring defense, allowing a shade over 10 points a game. Wyoming's second best, allowing nearly 20. Last season, Eric Butler was part of that parade of Aztecs returning interceptions for touchdowns. It came in Laramie against these Cowboys, Louis. Returned 1 for 43 yards and probably needed a breather after that dash at altitude, Louis. Butler's a senior now and has been a mainstay in the secondary. Says the team takes pride holding opponents scoreless.
Shutouts are a big deal for us, and it's a great thing whenever it happens. It's a great feeling. Everybody's just doing their job. 1st, 2nd, 3rd down, play in, play out. So that's it.
At this point, he says, it's pretty much all business, staying humble, working on the opponents, and focusing on any keys they can utilize in reacting to the Cowboys' balanced attack led by QB Caden Anderson. a redshirt sophomore who's been efficient in the passing game with a 63% completion rate, 923 total yards, and 6 TDs in conference play. On the other side of the ball, we got to hear from the boogeyman, Seth Adams. He's the starting tight end, has caught just 2 passes on the season, but plenty of opponents have caught their share of hits from the boogeyman, as he and the other tight ends have helped the rest of the offensive line bolster an Aztec running game that's resurgent this season, 5th in the conference, part of a balanced attack that has moved the ball well at times. Biggest stat, though, is scoreboard Lewis with the 6 wins, 3 in conference play. The winning results are because of the improved play on both sides of the ball, along with special teams. Here's both players, Adams and Butler, discussing the notion of going against each other in practice, each side getting better as a result, and that translating into better performance come game time.
Our defense, they're very physical. I'm sure you guys know. But yeah, every day I'm going against EB, Tano, going against Chris, Owen. So those guys definitely push me to be a better player every single day, and love going against them, continue to get better.
I'll take it back to camp. Even if we compared it to last year, we would shut the offense down more so than we did this year, a lot. So that was a good sign, and we're seeing it this season. So I'll say we see it's best on best at practice, so it's no fall off when we get into the game.
I'd say the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Like they really push us to be at our best and stuff, and definitely get us ready for the games.
And speaking of getting ready, here's Adams with a preview of what things are like on the line of scrimmage when it's time to try to create some space for a ball carrier.
Yeah, it gets dangerous in them trenches for sure. Yeah, so yeah, definitely like just working with the offensive line. It's been great this season. We got a very physical front 5. I love coming to work, working with them every day. I feel like we feed off of each other. Whether that's Ross making a good block, that makes me want to go even harder, put someone on the ground. So I definitely love going to war with those guys every single day. Love them like brothers.
So on those 2 catches on the season, Adams says he prides himself on his run blocking as a converted offensive lineman. Snagging a pass or 2, the first couple in his collegiate career, well, you know, you just can't expect the Pokes to lay down, Lewis. They're coming off a 28-0 shutout over Colorado State last Saturday. As mentioned, the Aztecs defense will face that redshirt sophomore. His leading receiver, Chris Durr, 37 catches, 398 yards, 4 TDs. It's an offense that favors distributing the football. No single ball carrier jumps off the stat sheet for the Cowboys, but they still manage 157 yards a game as a team on the ground. And Lewis, that Aztecs offensive front will be challenged by linebackers Evan Eller, 23 tackles, 2 sacks, and Braden Johnson. They anchor a run defense that thus far has been giving up an average of 159 yards a game, 8 TDs on the season. Not as stingy as the Aztecs D, just 93 yards a game, 2 touchdowns. Like any college football game these days, Lewis, it would be a mistake if these Aztecs are peeking ahead at the schedule and they wind up stumbling over a well-coached, tough team that gave them all they could handle last season in Laramie. There's just something about teams from that part of the country, Lewis. From the Cowboys camp, the biggest move by Wyoming this season is off the field in the role of offensive coordinator. The Wyoming Cowboys Hall of Fame receiver, Jovan Bonite, was named offensive coordinator before the Colorado State border war game. With Bonite calling the plays, the Pokes put up 28 at home against the Rams. As reported by the Wyoming Tribune Eagles website, WYO Sportsnet, he started last season as offensive analyst, was promoted to wide receivers coach in January, and then second-year head coach Jay Sawvel named him the OC on the Monday after the Cowboys lost to Air Force on the road 24-21. Prior to the move, Cowboys were averaging a shade under 20 points a game, and that included facing foes with some of the worst scoring defenses in the country, including Air Force, UNLV, the Cone Accentos of San Jose State, and the Zips of Akron. Here's a collection of the coach's take on the change in the offense under Bonite, courtesy of Go Wyo. That's the University of Wyoming's YouTube channel.
We put a little more stress on defenses than what we had before, and I think we did that a number of ways. You know, there's quarterback run game with Landon Sims. There's a different, goal line look that we gave. It didn't work, but at least, we give a different look. I thought we, in the run game, did a good job of, first of all, Bo did a pretty good job of just staying committed to it, and doing that. I think that was a big piece of it. And then in the pass game, he was really decisive with what he wanted called, which also helped the quarterback be really decisive with what we thought we needed to do. And I thought there was a good plan through the week and, some creativity to certain things, but also a directness in calling it and a directness in what we were going to do in each situation through the course of the week that the players were on the same page with, the quarterback was on the same page with, all the coaches were on the same page with. And I thought it really showed.
Some of my impressions of the Aztecs' homecoming opponent after scanning the highlights of their last game, Lewis. Wyoming, like the Aztecs, operates primarily at tempo. They'll take deep shots. Their quarterback, redshirt sophomore Caden Anderson, shows good instincts. He can throw on the run, has presence in the pocket. In some of the tape I saw of the Colorado State game, he appeared to make good decisions and will even try to get downfield and throw a block or two. From the looks of things, Bo Knight was trying to get the ball into the hands of his primary playmaker, that's wide receiver Chris Durr, in various ways. It's similar to what the Aztecs try to do with Jordan Napier, including quick out routes. They're also capable of running with a corral of ball carriers, including another quarterback in Landon Sims, who scored on 4th and goal by running it in. Let's wrap up now with some input from the Aztecs head coach, Sean Lewis, trying to continue on in his climb with the Aztecs. So to go along with the defensive dominance and add on to that work described by Seth Adams, here's a bit more about the work being done by the group on the offensive line. The run game, as we have noted, has improved greatly this season because of that. And one of the biggest reasons is it has been a wall of continuity after last season's injury carousel. Here's Coach Lewis on that topic.
Last year in the 12 games, if memory serves, we played 7 or 8 different combinations. So it's hard for those guys to play as one when guys were banged up. They were up at practice. They were down at practice. Some guys started games. Some guys couldn't finish games. Obviously, when you lose Big Joe last year, week 1, that hurts you, right? So the biggest piece this year has been the continuity of all 5 of those guys remaining healthy, knock on wood, and continuing to grow and develop and get better each and every single day. Christian took great strides last year, and for his individual journey, there was tremendous steps and game reps that he learned from and has been able to build upon. He's done a better job playing with great pad level in the run game. He's more confident in his sets. He has great length. The 3 guys inside between Kalen and Ross and Bio, they're all uniquely different, man. But they're all big humans. Not to, say it, to oversimplify it, right? But Jamie and I were just talking about it a little bit, like, big people beat up little people, right? Like those 3 guys inside are big humans, and when I stand in the huddle with them, like, man, they make me feel good. They make me feel secure. They make me feel safe. And then, again, Joe's a tremendous story of perseverance, resiliency, his ability to weather the adversity and the obstacles that he overcame last year. I think it's just made him more emotionally and mentally tough. He's obviously very physically gifted. And to have him and Christian as the bookends, as our tackles, and, again, just the continuity of all 5 of those guys playing together has been special. And then I'd be remiss if I didn't mention how Ross, like his knowledge and his football IQ and his understanding of our scheme and being in year 2, him anchoring it in the middle and the speed at which he delivers the information allows us to get down, be ready, and to play in the manner in which we want to.
How about a shout out, Lewis, to the job that the strength and conditioning coach Jeff Sawvel and his staff have done with this team. The offensive line has been able to function as a complete unit when last season there were a lot of variations due to injuries. Safety Eric Butler says it's the healthiest he's felt at this point in the season, and Seth Adams gave props to all the players for showing up at an optional workout on a recent Sunday.
It's everything, right? When we talk about how fast this has happened to remaining healthy and strong, like Coach Sobel and his staff do a tremendous job. Again, we made some advancements and investments in the resources that we use from sports science to be able to have GPS wearables, to perch velocity systems down in the racks, to know how guys are moving weights, to be able to get real-time feedback. Like, our staff does a tremendous job of having a great temperature of the team and where guys are, and investing their time to be available to do different mobilities and flexibilities and stretching and routines and regiments on what each guy needs on an individual level, right? Like, all of them have a unique journey and injury history, so they need a different approach. Maybe it's different modifications in the rack for different things that we're doing so that they can feel at their best come game day. And then behind the scenes, the strength staff's doing an unbelievable job of, working with the guys who are waiting and developing so that when their number's called and, it's their opportunity to step up and they're the man that gets thrown in the arena, they're ready and they're trained and they're prepared to meet that opportunity as well, right? And then so much of what we do because of how much we train relative to other sports, compared to how much we compete, there's so much time where the culture and the environment is created in that space that, again, Coach Sawvel's been with me every step of the journey, right? And all the rebuilds that we've done, it's funny. I've told this story, I think, a couple times, or maybe I shared it with y'all. Like when this opportunity came along and, it became real, like I had to get approval from two people to make sure that we could continue to proceed. And one was my beautiful bride and the other one was my great strength coach, right? And if either one of them would have said, hey, no, it's not a good fit, it's not right, like that's the village and that's the people that, is a part of our team, our leadership team that make this thing truly go. So Coach Sawvel's the best, man. Like he's one of those behind-the-scenes heroes that does a tremendous job, and our guys love him, and he loves them, and there's great connection and continuity, and the culture stems from that.
At this point in the season, when you have guys in the weight room, are they going for personal bests or?
Yeah, I mean we're peaking, right? It's an individual approach, right? We kind of do it all. Again, without getting too deep in the weeds of the sports science, a lot of it is based off of rep count, right? But you want to be peaking at the right time, right? So, we're not tapering, and guys will be pushing here some max volume and some max numbers so that they're at their strongest and they're at their best and they're feeling most confident when they step in between the white lines. Now, we're going to do that smart, but, yeah, we're pushing weight, right? Like, again, strong guys are more resilient, right? Weak things break. Big people beat up little people. Like, all those statements ring true. They have for a very, very long time, right? I still think the equation is, if I remember my physics properly here, it's force equals mass times acceleration, right? So you need big people that can accelerate quickly and to generate the force that's needed to control the line of scrimmage where the game is won.
Lewis, in football, health is everything, and that's one of the reasons why when you see a guy like Jaden Denegal or Ross Ulugali-Masuli go down, everyone sort of holds their breath. But this season, more often than not, the strength and conditioning element is why you see many of them take the field again. Or in Big Ross's case, you have enough energy to go grab a hold of that old oil can trophy after the Fresno State game and carry it around on national TV. He's good, Coach Lou says. As a unit, they are doing better than I am, nursing some nagging injuries at this point in a football season, shooting high schools, running around on fields before the games, up and down stadium steps for this and that, and my personal favorite, ladder work, hauling TV gear up and down whatever particular setup I'm faced with to get to the top of the tippy top of the press box.
As of this recording, Steve, the Aztecs are getting set for their final exhibition game against USD, coming off the loss to UCLA at home a couple of weeks ago. I was in Las Vegas, as you said, last week for Mountain West Media Days, and I had a chance to talk with Coach Brian Dutcher briefly about his thoughts after that UCLA game. And I also got to talk with a number of Mountain West Conference coaches about their thoughts on San Diego State. So in the following, you will hear my conversation with Brian Dutcher, and then you will hear audio from Jared Calhoun, the coach of Utah State, Leon Rice, the coach of Boise State, Bryce Drew, the coach of Grand Canyon, Steve Alford, the coach of Nevada, and Eric Olin, former UC San Diego coach, now coaching New Mexico. Coach, coming out of that game, expectations versus reality. What did you think?
Well, I know the fans weren't happy because they stand up and clap until we score our first basket, and we went 8 minutes without a point. So I know the fan base didn't like it, but I liked it. I thought we played good, a good second half. 3/4 of the game, we played solid basketball against a very good UCLA team. So I think both teams got what they wanted out of the scrimmage. It was highly competitive. It was physical. Both teams are defensive-minded, and so everything was hard. And so it gave us a good baseline for where we are and where we need to go.
Coach, you played a lot of guys in that game. Do you have any idea of the rotations, who the starters are going to be, who might come off the bench?
We played 12 guys, and I told them even against UCLA that when we played USD in our second scrimmage, I was going to start some different players and try to give everybody opportunity to start, come off the bench. and then I'll have a better idea what the rotation looks like leading into the season.
Your freshmen, they looked pretty good out there. They didn't seem intimidated at all. Your thoughts on their play?
No, Tay is extremely strong and physical, so he can match that part of his game as a freshman. And LZ is a high IQ player with great talent. And so both of them fit in right away. And so I'll have some tough decisions to make when it comes down to a rotation.
Reese got his first game play in a couple of seasons. Your thoughts on what you saw from him? How did he look?
Yeah, when Reese stepped out for the first time in a year and put 19 up, I think we know why he was a first-team all-conference preseason player a year ago. He's what we all knew he would be, a gifted, talented player that is ready for his moment, and hopefully it will be this year.
What did you see from the players who got a lot of playing time last year who are looking to step it up this year? Miles, Farrow, BJ Davis, your thoughts on them?
Just that they're more consistent. They're growing as players. Maturity helps. Experience helps. And they gained both of those last year, and they're gaining more in practice and going into this season.
And what about Farrow Compton at the free throw line? He wasn't very good last year. He hit 2 straight, got a big round of applause from the crowd. Your thoughts on him?
The kids always work on every part of their game. And like I said, they've all gotten better individually. Now I have to find a way to get them better as a team.
Listen, I mean, I think San Diego State's a terrific program. I think they have 2 of the better players in the league. I give Coach Dutch and his staff a ton of credit for keeping those guys in this world. You know, he's a coach that's welcomed me with open arms. Anytime I have a call or a question, if I had a vote, I would have picked them number 1 as well. But I'm sure he'll tell you the same thing. These things mean absolutely nothing. It's people's opinions. That's why I got off social media about 8 months ago, and I've been more clear and more present than I ever have. But I think this league's real this year. I think every year you keep hearing it's going to be down and this and that, and every year we get 4 or 5 teams in the NCAA tournament. So there's great coaches and there's great players, and there's a lot of them walking around this building here at Media Day.
He's got a consistency in his program. We know what they're going to look like. We know how they're going to play. We know, what they're going to hang their hat on. And year in, year out, they're great at it. And that's what makes their program so great. And I think he might have one of the most talented teams he's had. And, I think he feels really good about that team, and rightly so, he should. Because, the guys that I know, and that's the crazy thing about this day and age, like you'll look at rosters and like, oh, I don't even know some of these guys on other, it's just the way it is nowadays. And, in the old days, you'd come to these things and then you knew every single guy because he had been at that school for 2 or 3 years to become one of the better players to come to the media days, right? Now it's like, well, where did they get him and who's that guy? And, you're seeing that a lot more, but I think San Diego State has the consistency probably, and that's why they're picked first. They have the most guys back and the most, guys that we have data on in Mountain West games and in that program. And
yeah, as a basketball fan, it's been fun to watch, San Diego State through the years and just the job, that Brian's done. He's done an incredible job. There now obviously now we're playing with you guys, so we can't be cheering for you as much as we used to. But we're looking forward to it. I think they're a top 25 team. They have awesome returners coming back, and then he's added some really good pieces, in the portal. And obviously we know how good of a coach he is. So I think this is again, one of the best teams. Probably the best team since the Final Four. I think they've had.
Well, they're very experienced, very deep. So obviously, Dutch and his staff did an incredible job, and it's an incredible environment there at Viejas. It's incredible. So all of a sudden you put that kind of talent in there. I think this is probably going to be one of his deeper teams. And I don't know a lot of the rosters in the league right now because the portal has kind of changed that. You don't really know until you start seeing box scores. But with San Diego State, you know what they're returning. And they're legitimate as being the favorite to win this thing, so they're going to be with the team everybody's chasing.
Well, I mean, he's a fantastic coach. That's a great program. Specifically, when you're there, it's a great environment, right? Student section's fantastic. So there's a ton of challenges, right? Like they got really talented players. They have depth. They have, they're traditionally one of the best defensive teams in the country. I think they have some, with the roster they put together, some offensive upside, at this year's roster. So, yeah, great team, great program, ton of respect for those guys, and it's a lot of fun to compete against them.
Lewis, time now for Aztecs All In to go all in on the baseball diamond. There are big things brewing on the Mesa this week there. Former Major League Baseball ace Steven Strasburg, 2019 World Series MVP, and Aztec Hall of Famer, bringing it on home as special assistant to head coach Kevin Vance. Yep, the kid who came out of West Hills High and developed his skills on the Mesa under Aztec legend Tony Gwynn, who tossed a no-no in his last start as an Aztec, was part of a team that made the NCAA regionals, is now back to pitch in for San Diego State baseball. Fundraising, special events, alumni donor relations, team mentor, and a bit of assistance with the arms on the mound maybe. And that's all part of the ballywick of being named special assistant. Strasburg said Monday, it seems like yesterday when he was on the mound for the Aztecs, and now he and his wife have 3 girls. He's lending his time and efforts as he can, with his eye on helping Aztec baseball as it primes for a move into stiff competition as part of the reformed Pac-12. That conference move becomes official as of July 1st, 2026. Meantime, he's going to try to help the same way he was helped along the way.
It's all baby steps, right? But, my goal with this is, I got into baseball when I was 3 years old because of Tony Gwynn. Watching him play, I had a chance to meet him on a few different occasions growing up, and obviously had the chance to play for him. And the way he played the game, the way he treated me as my coach, that really made an impact on my life. And I want to preserve Tony Gwynn Stadium. I want it to be the premier facility in this area, and I want his legacy to continue.
Aztec baseball lovers know Strasburg went on to become the #1 overall pick in the 2009 MLB draft. Nationals signed him. Career highlights include the 2019 World Series, where he started and won 2 games, and that includes an epic Game 6 where he notched 7 scoreless innings to push the series against the Astros into a 7th and deciding game. Strasburg had his share of injuries, which he'd battled back from, but eventually Father Time caught up for good in 2023. Any trips he'll make to the mound now will come from his special assistant perch, with the goal of bringing more fans and trophies to Tony Gwynn Stadium.
College baseball is just about to explode. The level of play has really increased. And, I would say, I'm just trying to make myself available. Feel like the guys can ask me anything, and, I'll give them my opinion. But I also know that, you can learn something from anybody in this game. I remember here when I was in college, I literally, all the pitches I threw in high school, I ended up changing when I got here. And, I learned my breaking ball from, Mike Coons, who was a senior relief pitcher on the team. I learned my changeup, going up and throwing with a pitching coach up here in the area during the winter break. And so I really believe that, just having this environment where players can be themselves and they feel confident in what they're doing and aren't afraid to ask questions, that's where you're going to see real growth.
Well, if the Aztecs can get a rotation of hurlers like Strasburg going, Tony Gwynn Stadium could be one hot baseball ticket, Lewis. In his last year as an Aztec, he went 13-1, a 1.32 ERA, striking out 195 over 109 innings. In a statement, Aztecs baseball skipper Kevin Vance said Steven earned his success through hard work and competing in a great culture and program. He's never forgotten his roots, and the sky's the limit with Steven on board. Kevin, of course, out of Torrey Pines High, no slouch himself when it comes to pitching. In addition to junior college and minor league stints, he's coached pitchers at the college level prior to being named head coach of the Aztecs in June. In Strasburg, the Mesa has another great family guy with some major league star power to help boost the status and fan friendliness of Gwynn Stadium in the coming years.
I'm really excited, Steve, to see Strasburg connected to San Diego State University again. I mean, him besides Tony Gwynn, there have been a lot of great Aztecs who played Major League Baseball, but Strasburg was right up there. For a time, he was the best pitcher in the major leagues. He got that huge contract, then got hurt, and never really got the chance to show how good he was after the contract. So it's nice to see him coming back home, putting some focus on San Diego State baseball.
Lewis, for my part, I'm looking forward to hearing more from the Mountain West Media Days dealing with the basketball programs, the women and the men. Remember, Tony Gwynn was also a great basketball player, so his legacy in that regard is also very high. And also especially looking for any intel you might have on what the women have going this season to follow up on that big Mountain West Conference Tournament trophy and their trip to the big dance.
Yes, Steve, at Mountain West Conference Media Days, I also got the chance to talk with Stacy Terry Hudson, the coach of the San Diego State women's basketball team, along with Nat Martinez, who was a sophomore who had a great year last year, and the other sophomore who was terrific last year, Naomi Paganabin. So we'll hear from them in the coming weeks.
Oh, yeah, that should be great, and it should be fun to try to get to a couple of those home games that the women have up, along with all the many wild games we can expect at Viejas on the men's side. So what do you say, Lewis? Did we wrap this thing up now?
I think we've had chock full of goodness. We've got nothing else to give. We're done.
Yeah, we did. That will do it for this edition of Aztecs All In, where, as always, you can check us out on the X, Aztecs_all_in. And we all enjoy reading the mail from all of our many haters out there. I'm just kidding about that. I'm real sensitive. It makes me cry worse than 3D Squeldon, who does it like this. Oh, boo-hoo, boo-hoo. So, yeah. No. Easy on the mail, folks. We love you, though. The email address, aztecsallin@gmail.com. And, oh, yeah, don't forget to do the like and subscribe and the blips and clicks dealing with, the space where you catch your favorite podcast. And we will touch base after the Aztecs take on the Wyoming Cowboys Saturday at home. So until then, thanks for checking in.